About a month ago, I started some cilantro microgreens and some basil from seed for regular plants. And today I'm going to show you how they're doing. I think my cilantro is way past due for harvesting, and my basil is just doing amazing. About a month ago, exactly, that's when I started some microgreens from cilantro seeds. And I really wanted to keep up on everything about updating every single day how the seeds look like, but I did my best. And in this other video, I show you how simple it is to just start any type of microgreens. Some seeds, depending on what type of variety you want to grow, they may take 7 days, 8 days. Cilantro is one of those that takes a little bit longer. It takes about 21 days or so. Although today you're going to be seeing about a month of growth. They're definitely ready to be harvested. But I spray a bunch of seeds using regular potting mix, nothing special. I use a couple of trays from Bootstrap Farmer, and I cover the seeds with potting mix, and I use another tray to cover those seeds to keep them nice and flat. Now, one of the questions that I got in that video was, why do you put weight on top of those seeds? What is that required? When you are growing microgreens, you are loading the seeds. You are using a lot of seeds right next to each other most of the time. And when they break through the ground, if they are covered with any medium, they may disrupt the level of the soil. They may just push the soil up and just become a messy mess. So by adding weight to the seeds while they're germinating, it just helps you on keeping that soil level. And the seeds are going to do what they're going to do. The clips that I'm showing you here now are the seeds at 8 days old. These seeds were ready. I kept on adding water every day, sometimes a couple of times a day, because this from where I am growing them is really nice and crispy. So the potting mix, the soil that I'm using here, was drying really quick. And I had a fan here running almost most of the day. While the cilantro seeds are germinating, you do not need to provide any sort of light. You do need to provide warmth. So having light before they're even germinating, it's not required. I kept them away from the LED lights, and once they were germinated, I uncovered them, and that's when they went under my LED lights. I am going to add links below to the lights that I'm using here. Actually, the lights that I use for these microgreen seeds are the ones that I purchased in 2020, and they still work amazing. And this is not the first time that I grow cilantro for microgreens. I have done this a couple of times before, and normally they take between 21 to 24 days to fully harvest. This time I got super busy, life just got in the way, and I just kept pushing it and pushing it. And here we are a month later, and these guys are definitely ready. They're way past their time of being harvested. I am growing this for myself, so it doesn't matter how they look like, as long as they still look nice and healthy. These are for myself, so I am not really worried about cosmetics. And the period of the lights for these microgreens are right about 12 hours. They are on a timer, so they turn on at 6 in the morning and they turn off at 6 p.m. at night. So that way I don't have to worry about setting the lights on and off. This is how the tray looks like. The cilantro is just so beautiful. And for those of you guys that are wondering why I'm using a couple of trays, the black tray that I have here, hopefully I can show you, has holes at the bottom. And you can see the roots, gorgeous. And this black tray is the one holding the potting mix, and the one at the bottom has no holes. And I have been watering these microgreens from the bottom. Basically, I lift the top tray, I add water, and this thing is good to go. Now, if you're wondering about fertilizer, I did not use any liquid fertilizer or any other type of help for these microgreens, but I did use potting mix. I used the Burpees Organic potting mix for starting these seeds, which already has some fertilizer in it, so I am sure the plants are helping from that. Now, if you're wondering, how do you use these cilantro microgreens? You can use the cilantro microgreens in any way that you will use regular cilantro, because they taste so strong. And you guys, just doing this, the smell is incredible. Cilantro is one of those herbs that I just love to use. I use it in my cooking all the time. You can use this as toppings for your tacos, for any other type of soup, or to use to make some salsa. If you already have lights set up for your seed starting that you do, you can easily grow this type of microgreens. For harvesting, you can use a very sharp knife, very carefully, or you can simply use some scissors. These guys were ready, so ready. So I got all of this cilantro. It's a beautiful harvest. I definitely have plans for this for today, but I'm not going to use it all. This is quite a lot. So what I'm going to be doing is that I am going to clean it. I'm going to give it a light wash, and then I am going to place it in a Ziploc bag. Whatever I don't use is just going to go in a Ziploc bag and inside the fridge, and I am going to make it a point to use it in the next few days. Remember how I was saying, if you use a knife to harvest, be very careful about not cutting yourself? Well, it happened. So just be very careful. It's a tiny cut, so not worry about it. This is what the tray looks like when it's done being harvested. And all of this potting mix, all of the rest that is right here, is just going to go in one of my raised beds outside. Some of you have made a comment before about, will these regrow? If I place them in my lights, will they keep on growing? And the answer is simply, I don't know. I have never done it, so I can't tell you for sure what it will happen. I think that it will depend on the seed that you're growing for microgreens, but I am not going to try to reseed this. I actually have a couple more 10 by 10 trays going for cilantro, and that's pretty much the end of the road for these guys here. So they're gonna go in my raised beds, and they're going to be fine addition to all of my soil outside. Now let me show you the basil. When I started those cilantro microgreens, I also started some regular basil. These are not microgreens. These are not intended to be microgreens. And basically what I did, I just have a tray. This is a 5x5 tray with holes at the bottom. You can probably see some roots there. Maybe not. And I have a small 5x5 tray with no holes. So I bottom water mostly everything inside whenever I'm growing from seed. And I mentioned that I really want to grow my own basil, and I did this last year in the winter, and they were amazing. But I have definitely been waiting too long to transplant these guys. They have been here for about a month. These guys have been under the lights because basil seeds need light to germinate, and they have been under my LED lights, again, for 12 hours every day. And today we're going to transplant this. I use regular potting mix to start the seeds, and I'm going to use the same potting mix to transplant them in bunches into bigger containers. Over here, I am going to be using these 4-cell plugs, big containers from Bootstrap. And I already got some filled up with regular potting mix. The potting mix that I'm going to be using, it already has a little bit of water added because I do not want to be dealing with dry mediums here. This is exactly a month of growth for basil. It's way too long. Basil does not need to be in one spot for that long. And I am not going to worry about dividing this like by single plant. Just want to get like a few of them, and I want to get as many roots as possible. And that's how they're going to go into a bigger container. It doesn't have to be super scary. I'm just trying to grab a bunch. Look at those roots. Oh gosh, this smells amazing. And if I lose a few plants as I am doing this, as I am dividing, it's completely fine. I'm okay with that. From one container, a small 5x5 container where I overseeded a bunch of basil, I am getting a lot of plants. These are going to be full grown plants that I am going to keep under my LED lights. I am going to, when I'm done here potting everything up, I am going to move them back to my LED lights for, again, 12 hours a day. And if you're thinking, wow, that's going to be a lot of basil, what are you going to do with all of that? Do you use all of that? And the answer is yes, it's a lot of basil. And no, I don't use a lot of basil for cooking. I do use a lot when I'm using it, but I don't use it enough. I definitely won't go through all of these plants. But my plan is that right now is the beginning of December. My plan is to get these guys as big as possible, and I am going to purchase maybe a couple of terracotta or some nice small planters where I can just transplant these guys and make them big and healthy and gorgeous. And those are going to be great Christmas gifts for family and friends. These guys make perfect gift for Christmas. Maybe next year, that would be a great idea for you. So I'm going to finish up potting up everything here, and hopefully you got inspired to do your own growing indoors. Even if you're not going to be using them for Christmas gifts, you can definitely grow your own in smaller containers, and you don't have to pay extremely high prices for basil during the winter at the grocery stores. Thank you for being here, you guys, and I will see you on the next time. Be careful with knives.